Second attempt at cherry tomatoes, chili, little ball chilies, and Chinese lantern. Now what I did the first time round was I put the peroxide in here in the cooled room temperature boiled water, and then I put the mesh top on, and I used this free growing paper that came with the trays. Now this stuff is useless to me. It's pretty much waterproof. I like straightforward and simple ways of doing things, and this is not straightforward or simple. Yesterday I topped up all these trays 4 times, and today I've topped them up twice already, and just these 3 seeds, I need them to sprout, and I need to know what they are so that I can pick them up when the roots have reached down through the mesh. I want to pick them up and plant them in individual containers so that I get chili plants, tomato plants and Chinese lantern plants. They're not microgreens. So I'm going to go this again, and I'm going to use ordinary tissue. I saw a guy called Troy on social media and doing this with toilet roll. Now I've got unbleached natural tissues here, which I keep in my handbags when I go out because my nose always streams from the pollution and the pollen in London. So I'm going to use 2 of these, and they will hopefully stay wet enough to sprout these seeds. So I always start off with about a teaspoon of 3% hydrogen peroxide, and then I top up the tray with cold room temperature boiled water. Now the tray is quite high on these, the mesh tray is quite high on these packets. I tried these packets before. This is the first time I'm using these seed trays. I normally use a metal mesh colander and cheesecloth, but I'm trying this as seen on various videos. So I'm going to top it up so that the water is above the mesh completely, right? And I'm going to gently lay these tissues on so they completely absorb the water. And completely cover the mesh. Oops. Right, so they completely cover the mesh. Then I have the diagram that I made telling me where to put the seeds. So I'm going to put chili in the top left, tomatoes in the top right, and Chinese lanterns at the bottom. And I saved the other seeds. They got mixed up into one mass as I was adding water underneath. So I saved them, and as these grow, I will be able to identify what they are as they grow, and then I will have double the amount of plants, which is quite exciting and scary. So I'm going to put these seeds directly on the tissue. This is Chinese lantern. So these, I want these at the bottom because that's what it says on my little map, seed map that I roughly wrote out on Monday. So this is May the 4th, and I pray that May the 4th be with these seeds and they sprout in a matter of days and start rooting. So I've got cherry tomatoes now, top right of my setup. Yeah, this really annoyed me, all this having to water the paper continuously. I've got 4 trays in front of me to do. I'm gonna see how this goes in a couple of hours, and if it looks good, I'm gonna do it to all of them. Change the paper for tissue, but not get rid of, not obviously I don't need to mix up the seeds for those because they were all individuals. And 3 of them are microgreens. So I don't mind them growing in a great big mass all mixed up. So I don't know, there's about 30 or so of each of these I'm doing. But just, and I usually, because I am partially sighted, right? So I usually am very methodical with putting things away as I go along. Like, I don't want the packets to get mixed up, so I'm placing the blank seed packets on top of their outer envelope, so I easily know what they are. So after I've done this, I can easily wrap them up and they won't be the wrong seeds in the wrong packet. So that's it done. And hopefully, without paper drying up underneath, this will be okay, because they had started to swell and look very interesting in terms of sprouting, but the paper kept drying and it was like waterproof, and I just I have to keep on coming back in and checking on these was ridiculous, because I've never experienced this problem before ever in like 30 years. I got my first garden in 1993 when I got my first house, and I started growing my own food back then. I've had gaps in my adult life because obviously I had a lot of trauma, but I basically have a wealth of experience, and I've never had this problem before. This paper is absolutely useless. I don't even know what I'm going to use it for. An art project, paper mache might be, because it's really hard. It's really hard to rip even. Like, I can tear the edge, but then it won't rip down easily. So yeah, so that's it. So you need to cover it because it needs to be dark for the seeds to sprout. And then I've got my map showing me, roughly written map, what you saw me doing on Monday, roughly showing where they are. And that's it. So hopefully that's a disaster diverted. And I've literally only just watered the other 4 trays, so I'm not going to do those now. But when the water evaporates in a couple of hours, then I'll change the tissues, to change from paper to tissues then.